Okay, further detail here. As a man of average height, when I see a friend who is a woman shorter than me, I have the urge to just pick her up. Nothing more, just lift. How unusual is this? I've never done it, but I am curious if anyone else has felt this way. Edit. This is not sexual. I just want to lift, with permission, of course. Edit 2. Thank you all for the many eager responses. Edit 3. To address those who are upset, I would only do this with permission, again with permission. Story 1. Not a man, but as a relatively short woman, men have been picking me up all my life, not even in a flirty way, just like whoosh. Story 2. For me, not weird. I had a friend tell me to guess how much he weighed. I was way off. Then he said he weighed 160 pounds, and I squat 185 pounds. For the next 30 seconds, I was trying to pick him up and squat him, but he successfully fended me off. I can't even lift my friends anymore. We used to be stronger. Story 3. I am not a man, yet as a taller female, I have the same feeling when hugging smaller women. It is like my brain is just saying, we can do that so easily. Let's try. Then I remember they would hate it, so I do not. But I understand it. Story 4. I hate that it is strange to some people to just ask if you can pick them up because I would love to be picked up. I would feel like a child again and it would be a short laugh between us. Story 5. Not weird to want to. Definitely not okay to do that unless they give permission. Probably would not advise asking because a lot of smaller women tend to get annoyed as apparently people wanting or trying to pick them up happens fairly often. Story 6. I think it must be a common intrusive thought. I am a small woman, and as a child, my peers always picked me up without permission. It makes me think people still have those thoughts, but they do not always act on them as adults. My family members still pick me up too, and I am 37 years old. I do not often see other adults smaller than me, but I think I understand. I am so tiny, I could just carry you around. Story 7. Not weird at all. I always have the urge to be picked up by tall people. I went on a date with a tall man and after an hour, I couldn't help myself. I said, please pick me up, I wish to be in the air. He picked me up and it was great. However, I should say you should ask before you just pick someone up. One time, my friend picked me up unexpectedly, and he didn't realize how short my skirt was, so everyone saw my backside. Story 8. I am a straight woman, and I have the urge to lift my female friends. I often do, and then I spin them around. It is great. I think it is normal once you recognize the joy of lifting people up and spinning them around. Sometimes I even lift my boyfriend and give him a twirl. We do not lift weights for no payoff. Story 9. Small woman here, done by the right man, and it is the most glorious thing in the world. I know from experience. The right man must be someone you trust and adore. Anyone else gets a swift roundhouse to the groin. Story 10. I mean, it can be interpreted as a sexual advance of some kind, similar to a boy hitting a girl he likes. On the other person's end, it can also feel rather demeaning. My advice is do not do it. Story 11. Yeah, it's a bit of fun, especially when drunk. I had a friend, never did anything with her, who liked me doing her jump, me catch, throw to one side, then to the other, then between legs. The problem was the low ceiling in the pub. I did accidentally bop her head once. Story 12. It could be one of two things if it was not sexual. 1. You want to do some wrestling-style moves to feel childhood nostalgia. 2. You have a paternal instinct and just want to carry them around as you would with a child. Story 13. I have several short female friends that I lift up when giving them a hug. They like it. I make sure they are good friends. Story 14. I get the same urge but with wanting to do pull-ups or similar exercises, so I think men just experience unusual physical urges like that. Story 15. You know when Jim lifts up Pam in Dwight's dojo? That is how our society views it. If you do it in public, people will think you are in a relationship. If you do it, make sure the other person is totally willing first. Story 16. I was lifted by a girl I was dating once because she really wanted to do it. I was surprised she lifted me so easily. Story 17. If you have romantic interest and it is reciprocated, a Princess Carrie can make both people very happy. Or if she is sitting on your shoulders, that is fun. If you have general good vibes, like it is someone you hug regularly, lifting her up is okay sometimes. I have a cousin, and once we had not seen each other in 2 years. When our families met at my grandparents' house, I was so excited to see her that I hugged her, straightened up, and lifted her clean off the ground. She hugged me back, and then I set her down. That was totally fine. One thing I have learned from women and what I have seen is that they deeply, truly, and viciously hate being picked up without permission. It is dehumanizing, deprives them of all agency, turns her into an object you are playing with instead of a person, and activates many deeply seated fears. Do not do that. However, if they are in some kind of bad situation and you are like firemen carrying them out of danger, go ahead. Story 18. Not at all, man. I don't even want people outside of 4 in my personal life to touch me. Like old classmates, when I run into them and they go for a hug, I want them to get away from me. Story 19. Yes, I have the same experience. If I have not seen a friend in a while, whether a guy or a girl, I will give them a little lift and maybe a spin. Story 20. I don't think it's weird. I'm tall, so children ask me to pick them up. I'm used to holding small humans and carrying them around. I've picked up adults before. It's not the same thing. Holding a girl up to 12 or 13 years old, which is a bit too old to be held, but whatever, kids are fun, is one thing. Holding a grown woman is another. It's hard to explain. I've held a grown woman who is roughly the size of a big kid. She would legally be considered to have dwarfism, and she's not that much heavier. But it feels like her proportions are different. It's not the breasts. She has them, but they are small and I don't think they are that heavy. It just did not feel like holding a child. It was weird. But she, the adult, is my sister-in-law. We were at a concert, and I told her she could sit on my shoulders for the songs she loves. I said just let me know, and no questions, I would make sure she got an awesome view because she wasn't seeing anything. Otherwise, I carried her for 3 whole songs, one of which was the finale and lasted about 12 minutes. Sore as hell the next day. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was awesome knowing she could actually see one of her favorite bands perform some of her favorite songs. On a lighter note, I have a coworker who is almost a friend and is very short and small of stature, and I threatened to pick her up once. I got the impression that under different circumstances, not at work, she wouldn't have minded. She knows I'm married. I know she only dates girls. So it was 100% not sexual. I'd still pick her up, maybe toss her up in the air, if I thought it would make her laugh or smile a bit more. Not that she doesn't. She's a very cheerful person. In my opinion, it's not really that far removed from hugging, but of course you do need permission and constant consent because by lifting a person up, you take away their agency and freedom of movement. They are putting a lot of trust in you to not harm them, to not let them be harmed, and to be strong enough to not hurt yourself by lifting them. Story 21. For me, when I hang out with friends, I have the urge to do push-ups. It is not a show-off thing. I can barely manage 15 push-ups. It is just something my body feels the urge to do. It might be some conditioning from when I only got to see friends at the gym. Story 22. I get it. I don't understand it, especially with people I like. I just want to pick them up, give a mid-hug, a big squeeze, and lift them up. Story 23. I am a woman, 159 centimeters tall, and 115 pounds. Even in my mid-20s, people randomly lift me up. Friends, acquaintances, and even casual friends of friends. It is very strange and sometimes mildly alarming, because it has become so normalized. It has reached the point where if I were to make a big deal, these people would get majorly offended. It is easier just to accept it. Please do not lift us without at least asking for permission. Story 24. I remember an interview with Kevin Hart where he said he does not let Shaquille O'Neal come over because he keeps picking him up in front of his children. Story 25. My partner is about 8 inches taller than me but very skinny. I pick him up and spin him around all the time. He is so tall that I do not need to bend over to get my arms below his waist for a solid spin grip. Story 26. I get this urge constantly, but I also do this as a hobby. Try partner acrobatics. It is exactly what you are looking for. Lift small women. It is great. If you want to learn more, send me a direct message. Story 27. I do this to my sisters and brothers who are quite small. Anyone 165 centimeters or shorter seems easy to pick up. Story 28. I find that it is helpful to apply adequate pressure toward the middle of the back and crack it as you lift. I have friends who insist on my hugs. Story 29. Not weird at all. I am extremely attracted to short, petite girls. I am 6 feet tall myself. Something I really want to do is carry her around anywhere, mainly playfully or romantically. Story 30. I had a boss once who liked to pick people up, of all genders. We created a page on Facebook called I Was Lifted by XX, where all the photos of lifted people ended up after office parties. As far as I know, it is still active after 15 years. What made it work and not feel creepy was the fact that he was not selective in his choices. Story 31. Samsies, I'm only about 6 feet 3 inches, but I've had some friends who are girls, very platonic, devoid of romance or sexuality, that I used to work with who were tiny, around 4 feet 11 inches to 5 feet 4 inches. Every time I saw or greeted them and they gave me a hug, I had to bend over to hug them. It was a regular occurrence that we would see each other, greet each other, one of us would initiate a hug, I would bend down to hug them and we would embrace. While hugging, I would straighten my back, inevitably lifting their feet off the floor. That was our normal. I haven't read any comments yet, but from the original post, I see that some people are upset. For the life of me, I can't understand why. I feel like the only way someone could be upset about the idea of being lifted is if, in their mind, the scenario is that a stranger comes up behind them and throws them into the air like a cheerleader. I don't think that was what the original poster had in mind. To the original poster, I think the type of lift and your relationship with the person you're lifting determines the level of weirdness. Just wanting to lift someone is not weird. Story 32. Honestly, my ambition in the gym is to reach a point where I can skip the weights and lift more improvised objects. Lifting a person would be fun. I would also like to bench press a bench and hopefully one day flip a tractor tire. Story 33. I do that all the time and I am a woman. I think it goes back to when I was a very strong kid and my older sister would tell her friends I could lift them. They never believed it and were always shocked when I did. Fun party trick. Story 34. I hope it is not weird for a man to want to do that because I want a man whom I can run up to, jump on, and wrap my legs around like at the airport. Story 35. Despite being average height, I ended up being the heaviest in one of my groups of friends, and I have this urge as well. 3 guys and 2 girls all have either been on my back or picked up by me at one point. The smallest girl there I once gave a piggyback ride to and then sprinted with her. People are so light in general. It's weird. We became friends over a 3-month course last year, and during that course while rock scrambling, I had to help them up some rocks by being a human stepladder. For one rock, I even supported a guy by placing my head under his foot. I once lifted my brother just off the ground. He was 114 kilograms, and at the time I was 95 kilograms. I am losing weight now, almost 89 kilograms. It's not just an urge with people smaller than me. I have threatened one of my friends, a fairly short dude who can't put on weight, that I will bridal carry him the next time we all meet up. Yes, my favorite Warhammer faction is the Orcs. How could you tell? Story 36. I can understand you, but from the woman's perspective, there are definitely many women who want to be approached. That is completely okay. There is no reason to feel bad. Story 37. I can understand you from the woman's perspective. Many women want to be picked up, and that is completely okay. There is no reason to feel bad. Story 38. I know the feeling. I have the instincts of an overly enthusiastic toddler who unknowingly traumatizes its pet through affection. Big hugs, head pats, carrying them around under my arm, dressing them up in funny clothes, feeding them treats, and so on. I would probably do it all if I could get away with it. It is not even a sexual thing. It is just a generic affection thing. I would treat all the women in my life like that if they did not mind, from family to friends to a girlfriend. Story 39. I actually had a friend of a friend do that to me once, so he basically let the intrusive thoughts win. We were talking about something, and I said that I'm too heavy to be picked up. He was like, "You're tiny. It would be easy." I said, "No, I can't be because my ex never managed." He said he was average sized. Next thing I know, he goes, "Nah, I'll show you," and picks me up. In his defense, he was pretty drunk at the time. I don't think he would have done it sober. He put me down instantly after I said, "What the heck? Put me down now." But we all ended up laughing over it eventually. I don't recommend doing it to a random woman because it was a bit weird even for me, and most people would think I underreacted. But I knew the guy was harmless and truly just lacking impulse control in a funny way. Story 40. I can understand the impulse to hug and hoist a little, but targeting only women kind of comes off as wanting to assert dominance. I sometimes do it with friends, both men and women, in mock exaggeration or theatrics of how much I miss them since we last hung out. Story 41. I assume you mean non-sexual. Please do not. I am a medium-tall woman, so it does not tend to happen to me, but I think it happens a lot to short women. I would be so frustrated because it seems like you are not taking me seriously, unless you are my very close friend. In that case, yes, pick me up and put me down again. Story 42. Yes, it's normal. If you really want a treat, pick someone who is bigger than you, especially a man. They get surprised because it is rare for them, and you get to perform a feat of strength. Story 43. Gay man here. I know a couple of men like you. They like to pick people up and handle them. If the other person enjoys it, it can be fun. Story 44. Look, I have never really done it to women, but my guy friends, many, all belong to the same social circle, a slightly unhinged university workshop. We regularly pick each other up. Sometimes, when someone is in another person's way, they get picked up and moved a few feet over, just shifted. It is not sexual or romantic. Most of us have girlfriends. We just like knowing we have the ability to lift and set each other down wherever we please, as long as it is not done violently and the person is strong enough to do it. Story 45. To be fair, girls love it. Also, I have been in emergency situations where there was an overdose with someone who weighs 350 pounds, and the two adult male emergency medical services personnel needed my help to lift the person onto the gurney. So I helped lift. Story 46. It is the rudest thing a person can do to another person. It is an expression of superiority and dominance. Stop it right now. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.